Welcome to the Generative Age,
a podcast that explores the rapidly evolving world of generative AI and its impact on education.
Guided by EdTech Director, author, and NYSCATE board member Alana Winnick. We are joined by experts and practitioners in the field who are shaping the discourse of artificial intelligence in the classroom.
Whether you're an educator, administrator, technology leader, or simply interested in the future of education, join us on this journey through the Generative Age, powered by NYSCATE.
Hello, welcome back. I haven't seen you since last year. A lot has happened since the last episode, so I'm just going to fill you in on some updates. I was recently selected as a 2024 EdSafe Women in AI Fellow, and I'm really excited to share my journey with you. As you know, I like to keep you informed of everything that's going on in the field, so I'll just give you some updates since our last podcast. Using artificial intelligence, MIT researchers were able to identify a new class of antibiotics that can kill drug-resistant bacteria that cause deadly infections. So an example of this might be MRSA, and this has been successfully tested with mice in a lab. So this is really promising. And the way that this works is that models sift through tons and tons and tons of data to make predictions, and then the humans analyze the predictions and figure out which ones they think are the most likely and conduct lab testings. Using the current models, there's no real way of knowing how the predictions were made, but they're hoping on building more explainable models where the AI will tell them why they think that this prediction would work. But the technology is just not there yet. But this is still a really, really big advancement and really exciting for the world of science. Shifting gears a bit, let's move on to the AI tech giants and fill you in on what's been going on there. The New York Times is suing OpenAI and Microsoft. They're claiming that there's unauthorized use of their published work to train artificial intelligence models. OpenAI is saying that it's considered fair use, and in education we know what this fair use means. And OpenAI is saying that they're working to correct the model so it doesn't literally regurgitate word for word what was published in the New York Times, because that's what they're finding is happening right now. Talking about OpenAI, let's stay on that topic. OpenAI will add watermarks to their images in DALL-E, as well as tagging that is created by AI in the metadata of the image to help build trust around digital information. And this is going to be particularly important in the upcoming election to know what is AI generated and what is factual. So I just want to play devil's advocate here. If you take a screenshot of an AI generated image and crop it, then it will not only remove the watermark that's in the corner, it will also eliminate the metadata. The way it currently stands, it's, a step in the right direction, but definitely not a solution. Now let's move on to Google. In our last episode, I mentioned a whole segment on Gemini. So if you missed that, definitely go back and check it out. It's right in the beginning of the episode. There's no such thing as Bard anymore, and now it's just Google Gemini. So for all of you lucky Android users, you could go ahead and download the Gemini app right now. For all of the iPhone users, you're going to have to wait a bit for that, but you could still use it on a computer. And now let's move on to Microsoft. It's kind of ironic that in the last episode, I interviewed Microsoft Education's Chief Innovation Officer, and I did a whole announcement on Google. But in this episode, we have really big announcements for Microsoft. Microsoft is now branded as Copilot, lots of changing words. And we've heard of Copilot before, but now they've really released it in the workplace. And I've linked for you resources on all the things I just mentioned. But now using Copilot, it's literally baked right into all the Microsoft products. So I'm going to just talk through some of the tools and how you can use it. With Outlook, you can create draft emails, summarize long emails, schedule follow-ups and agendas based on your email conversation. Using Word, you could generate drafts for documents, you could summarize really lengthy documents, and there's so many more. I'm just giving you the highlights. With PowerPoint, you could create quick presentations from a prompt, or you could take a different doc, like let's say a Word document, and you can generate that into a PowerPoint. You can also take a really long presentation and summarize it into key slides. Moving on to Excel, you can easily make charts with your existing data If you are not good at formulas like me, you can apply formulas without even knowing the formula just by using a prompt. So I'm really excited for that. And you can also use it to summarize trends in the data. With Microsoft Teams, if you use it for video chat, it could take notes for you. So if you've used something like Otter AI or anything like that, now it's going to be baked right into Teams. So it could take notes. It could also suggest discussion points based on emails or files. And it can also create meeting recaps and insights. And also, just like OpenAI with Copilot, you could build your own copilots. So this will be really great because you could use all of the files that are saved in your Microsoft ecosystem, all your data, and create custom GPTs just for your data. This is really exciting. I've been waiting for this for a really long time, and I'm starting to have initial conversations on how we can set up my environment for my school district, and having a lot of conversations about data privacy and security and making sure that everyone's data is protected and not shared with anyone that it shouldn't be. So there is a bit of work to go into this if you're going to set it up district-wide and it's not just your own individual account. And that's all the updates I have for you today. That was a lot of updates, but let's just head right into why you're here. Let's jump right into the episode live at NYSCATE with the eTwinz.
So we're recording live at NYSCATE. We just had an incredible keynote with the eTwinz. So thank you for that awesome keynote. I wish that my talk was just before yours. We're so aligned. So who is who?
That's a great question. I'm Alberto.
And Mario. So Mario, light blue, and Alberto, dark blue.
Okay. Those of us that are listening can't see, but what?
Our voices are very similar.
Yeah.
I'm Mario, and then the other voice is Alberto. If you can,
They won't ever be.
Yeah.
You're just the same person, basically. So we'll get into the twin thing in a bit. Can you tell me one way you use AI personally and one way you use it professionally, creatively?
I can start with it personally. I hate going grocery shopping. I really, really hate it. So my girlfriend always goes because I hate it. So what I do is I do the list. So I do a menu on ChatGPT, and then I ask ChatGPT for the ingredients to make that menu and give me a list, and I give it normally to her, or if she forces me to go, I go. And then I use it to do the weekly menu and the shopping list for that.
That's a very creative way. I think John Spencer said he does the same thing, so maybe it's not so creative.
For me, traveling, I would say. It's not very creative either, but I use it to, if I go to a city, to tell me what things I should go. 5 must things that you need to do in Lisbon or Madrid or whatever. For that, and then for restaurants as well. If I am craving something or my girlfriend's craving something, same. Okay, we are craving Mexican food. So what's give me 5 options for Mexican restaurants and stuff like that. Yeah.
And what about professionally?
For everything, I would say. For
social media posts
all the time. Emails, important emails as well. That
for the wording.
Yeah, for the wording. Yes, we write this or make it sound more professional or more informal, depending on.
We use it on regular basis.
Okay, so first of all, what do you mean use it for social media, for the post?
To write the post.
Post.
So you give the information. I'm gonna be here this day. I'm gonna talk about this. This is gonna be a keynote or a workshop. Can you write me a social media post that I will be publishing this on Instagram? And it's wonderful. If you haven't tried it, go ahead and do it because it saves you a lot of time.
Okay, so you guys are the eTwinz. You have one shared account for everything. You're basically one person.
No, we don't actually. We have Twitter because we started off with 2 different accounts on Twitter. So Alberto has his, I have mine, and then we created eTwinz because we started our Twitter accounts when eTwinz wasn't a thing yet.
Yes. Okay.
And then we created eTwinz EDU, which is kind of our main account now.
Got it. So who posts on that?
Normally Alberto.
Why?
Because I don't know, we organize the work in that way, and I'm in charge of all the social media stuff. We split the work. Mario is not very creative with making the graphs and everything. So normally I'm in charge of creating the graphics, and like posting on social media.
Okay, so I'm going a bit out of order here because we're on the twin thing. So I told you guys in the email, my mother was an identical twin. So are you identical or fraternal?
We are identical.
Okay, so I totally understand this bond. Most people do not understand this.
It is hard to understand, but it is a feeling that you cannot explain it. You need to live it like you with your mom and your aunt, or being a twin like us to fully understand the whole thing.
Yeah, my mom literally started a business so that she could see her twin every single day because they can't not see each other. So when you guys are now together all the time, pretty much all the time, that's a way for you to keep...
It is. We don't see each other as much as people think because we don't live in the same city anymore.
Oh, wow.
We live
1 hour away.
1 hour away, which is not far away, but we don't live in the same city. So we see each other once every 2 weeks, maybe.
Wow.
In person.
In person.
But we're always working together.
Yeah. Like
and texting each
video
other.
video calling or texting or whatever is all the time because of our business, pretty much.
Got it. So you're on the stage. You obviously are in unison. You answer each other's questions. I get the whole twin thing. It's just how it works.
We don't practice that, by the way. It's just natural.
No, I know that because I had a twin mom.
Yeah.
They could literally not even be in the same room and know what each other are thinking about.
Yeah.
So you said you're much more creative in the social media part of it. What's your role?
My role is like to do I would say the day to day. I would say like and then like more creative, not with social media stuff, but like with ideas and projects that we do, and then the day to day of the company. Like Alberto is very creative. Let's say we need to do like a presentation. I normally come up with the ideas of the presentation or the structure. Normally, not all of it, and Alberto kind of creates the presentation. You know how it looks, like slides and everything else. That's kind of what we do it. But I mean, it can change as well.
And you take care of the logistics.
The logistics as well, like everything related to like what we do to the clients, follow up with the clients and emails, traveling and all of that.
Normally we split the projects that we have, like kind of like program managers or project manager. So Mario take care of some of the projects, I do take care of other projects. So in that way we split the work.
Okay, so upstairs I noticed there's only one clicker. How do you guys decide who's driving the presentation?
He's the project manager of this presentation.
Like I built the presentation, so I need to. Mario's just like. So, for example, when we do some presentations, the one who has the clicker is the one who has been
more involved in the presentation.
More involved in the presentation. In this case, I kind of like designed this presentation, so I was the one who decided the pace on that.
Got it. But it seems like that's your role, so you probably do that most.
Yeah, sometimes Mario takes over, depending on the project or the program that we are building, or depending on like who has been more involved in that
project.
I just think the whole twin. I love the whole twin thing. I think it's so interesting.
It is very interesting.
So you grew up with a thought partner your whole life. You've always had a thought, but you guys have been through every single stage of your life together and known what everything's going on. You've always had this thought partner. Now we think of AI and everyone calls it a thought partner. So everyone finally has a thought partner.
A twin, right?
A twin.
Yeah. What do you guys think of this?
I think it's important to bounce ideas, to each other and stuff like that. I would say like it's a good way to do it, but I wouldn't abuse that with AI. Depending on the responses that gives you, doesn't critical think and stuff like that. But I think it's important to have. You can call it like thought partner, assistant, however you want, and we use it as well. Like if we are doing something, like we talk to ChatGPT or any generative AI and say, hey, this is my idea, give me 5 more, or give me more ideas about this project or whatever. So we use it as well.
Awesome. I love that. I would love to learn about your journey from like education to where you are today, and like your journey from Spain to Utah, back to Spain. Like, let's talk through this. Let's talk through it.
Mario, you're very good at this. Explaining step by step our career, I
journey.
guess.
So we studied education in Spain, like their school elementary education. So it's like we studied there, and then our last year we got a scholarship to do our internship here in the US. So it's like a program that you don't choose where to go. So you just apply for the program, and then like someone picks you up. Like in this case, a district from Utah picked us up.
Oh, that's how you
To
ended
go-
up in Utah.
Yeah,
I was like, if
exactly.
you're coming to America and you pick Utah.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
what I'm
like
thinking.
Utah.
Well, explain the Syracuse thing.
They have like a list of applicants, and then districts all around the US just go to that huge pool of candidates, and then they pick you. So in this case, a district from Syracuse, Utah, picked us. Funny thing is that we thought we were gonna go to Syracuse, New York.
Oh my goodness.
So at that point we were 20. Like we love to party. We love to have fun and stuff. So we were going to Syracuse, New York, the college town. Like it's gonna be so much fun. We already thought, thought about us just going out every weekend and stuff like that. Sports. I mean, great time. And then we ended up in
Soccer or football? Which one?
Soccer.
No, I know.
We
I
call
was
it
joking
football.
because you.
We call it
Yeah, we
football.
call it football.
Yeah.
The real football. We ended up in Syracuse, Utah, which is a farming community.
I know. That's why I was like wondering about this Utah
So
thing.
imagine our face when we thought that we were going to a college town, and then we found out we were actually going to a farming community.
Which is great. Like we
We
had
loved
an
it, actually.
amazing experience, but it was kind of like a shock. So we ended up there. We did 1 year of internship, and after that we got hired by the district. So we were in the classroom for 9 years in that same district.
I heard that you worked with Matt Winter.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Matt from Utah. Yeah, Matt Winters. Yeah, we actually Matt is now he's at UEN, which is kind of organization in Utah. But before that, he worked at a district, and he worked for USAID and everything.
Was happening?
I don't remember. So like on our time in
You are
Utah, we were
listening?
with Matt.
Hell, he's wonderful.
Yeah, I just met him at ISTE. He won ISTE 20 to watch, but you guys won it too, right?
Yeah,
Two
last
years.
year.
Yeah, 2
Yeah,
years
so
ago.
that was one of my questions. So tell me about why you won that.
So I think, I don't know. I think it was like a combination of all of our awards before that we got like other awards and recognitions.
For what though? Why did you win these awards? What did you do that's so great? Tell us.
So the first, I can tell you, like first award we got was like best teachers in Utah under 35. It was
Outstanding young educator of the year.
outstanding young educator of the year. That was for the use of.
It was a joint eTwinz.
Yeah,
It was a joint
actually,
thing.
it was a
Wow,
joint.
Yeah.
that's interesting. You were the eTwinz before you were the eTwinz.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
actually. Yeah.
So we got that one for integration of technology in the classroom, and then service learning projects. Then that same year we won the both of us as well best teachers in our district in Utah. Best of Davis is called. So we got that one, and then more recognitions like the list of the 30. I don't remember, but it was like a EdTech magazine as well, and then ICT, the 27th most influencers or something like that, educators in the world, stuff like that, and then the 20 to watch. And it was, I think, because of our career, and like what they told us was more about how we have impacted, throughout the years, many educators, because we are in the US and in Europe and then South America as well, so we get to impact a lot of different educators.
You transitioned from that to this full time.
Yes.
So
Yes.
can you tell me about why you made that
sure.
decision?
So we've never thought that this was even a possibility. We picture ourselves in the classroom for our whole career. But when we start getting these awards and recognitions, people started to calling us to come to our district and talk about this. Come to this conference and talk about what you are doing.
And they wanted both of you. They didn't want one.
exactly.
Both of us. Yeah, and so we reached to a point that the consulting part was getting to a full-time job. So we pretty much had 2 full-time jobs, and it was very hard, honestly.
We were in the classroom full time and then consulting and speaking full time as well.
How did your district allow you to do that?
So they were super supportive. When we went to a conference, we always came back and share with the district, the faculty. Also, we were carrying their name around the country and in Europe as well, their district name, and they were super supportive with that. And then we got two full-time jobs. It was really hard mentally, mental health. We couldn't do this for a long time, so we decided to take the full-time job as consultants and leave the classroom and focus on this.
And then you moved back to Spain.
And we moved back to Spain.
Why? Because your family's there? Is that why?
Yeah. And actually, we needed to make a decision that we had kind of maxed out our work visa. So we moved back to Spain because all of our family are there, and then it's home for us, you know, culturally and then everything. So we decided to move back to Spain, but we get to come here, like I would say, once every other month, you know. So we are still in contacts with U.S. educators and U.S. culture. My partner is from the U.S. as well, you know. So like,
where in the U.S.?
LA.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like Utah farmland or something.
No.
She's from LA.
She's from LA, living in Spain now. But I mean, like, we are still like the US is still very
Hey, Tim.
present.
Tim is awesome.
I know, it's awesome. So let's jump into your keynote from this morning. One of the things that sparked my attention was the model of the current classroom. So can you talk us through what that's like right now?
We love education systems, so we like to study education systems around the world, and then we studied for a long time the Prussian system, which is all of the Western education systems are based on that.
Even Eastern,
yeah. So it's like it's a model that was created in the late part of 19th century, and it's pretty much based on the Industrial Revolution. Like, it is our education system right now. So we have like different levels that we put all with the same part, like it was a factory, you know, with the curriculum. I mean, like, there are different factors that you can tell that this system was built looking at like it was a factory, and then supply chain, and then the factory and the supply chain was the main, I would say, like inspiration to create our model right now.
So we talked a bit about this current model that you think doesn't really work right now, right?
No.
Why do you think it doesn't work?
because like the society and the workplace had changed so much that we need a new system to prepare students for this new reality. Like, we are using the same system that was created 200 years ago to help students to be ready for a society that was completely different. I mean, we like it or not, that system was built in the right way to prepare students for that reality. But that reality is not here anymore. Like, has changed so much that we're still using that system for a society that no longer exists.
Okay, so what should we do to change it?
We need to focus on the skills that are going to be needed in the future. So there is a report that it is called The Future of Jobs from the World Economic Forum that goes out every year and kind of like try to predict the top 15, the top 20 skills that are going to be needed in the future for students to succeed.
And what do you think those are?
No, they are there.
They are there.
But which ones resonate with you? Which ones do you think are the top
One
ones?
that
Computational thinking is one of the main ones.
social influence.
Critical thinking.
That's huge right now with all the influencers, all the streamers, YouTubers. That one is growing a lot. That social influence, because that can be a job as well, like to be an influencer.
Right.
So I would say that, well, the new one, like computational thinking, I think it's a huge one because of all the new technology. Critical thinking, because we're gonna need critical thinking because it's something that the AI can't do.
Right.
So like if we excel, we talked about that during the keynotes, is that like if we need to really work on those skills, because like machines, in this case, artificial intelligence cannot do that. So we need to be that brain and that heart behind the technology, to guide it to the correct way or the right track.
And also, like, it is not just about adding a layer of technology or a layer of skills. I think it is time to break the whole system. And
he's a little bit more radical than I am about this. Yeah, I don't quite agree with that, but we don't need the kids to be grouped by age anymore. We need them to be grouped by skills or by level of understanding or by ways to learn or by hobbies. Like, okay, like I like this more than the other thing, like be more flexible with the grouping of the kids, even in elementary school, and focusing on different things, because the age sometimes
it was the grouping that was picked 200 years ago because it was the easiest way to do it, but that doesn't mean that is the best grouping we can have. In elementary, secondary school, there are other many factors that could be better for the grouping of kids. And we don't need grouping anymore if we work in projects or problem or project-based learning, which is the future.
Right, I agree. I wrote about that in my book too. I didn't talk about the grouping, but like the project-based learning and learning through, and my whole thing is process over product. We can't assess the end product anymore.
Well, the process, like you can apply that, those skills or that process to many different situations. The product you can't. You evaluate the product, which is good for one situation. The process, or what you're learning through the process, you can apply that to many situations, in many contexts.
Yeah.
So what's the point of evaluating the product? You should evaluate the process. You should evaluate the competency based, I would say, learning like what they are learning, what skills, what competencies,
and we don't need grouping by age there, like just group by people that work really well together, or grouping by interest. All those things are very needed.
Talk about the productivity versus automation.
So right now, we made a difference between evolution and revolution. That a lot of people are saying that, or have said many times that education has, it's been a revolution in education. Go through a revolution for because of different technologies and stuff. But we truly think that it was an evolution. It wasn't a radical change. AI can be a revolution, but it's not there yet. It's because right now we're in the phase of productivity, which means that all of the AI tools that we have right now are based on productivity. For example, instead of writing an entire email, you write a prompt and the AI tool writes you the email. Instead of creating slides, like you can write a prompt and it creates the slides for you. That is productivity. And then there's a second part of it, which is the famous pink sunglasses.
Yeah, the famous Tim Needles pink sunglasses. Thank you, Tim. It's like a glare. For those of you listening, there's a massive glare on my eyes, and I couldn't see anything. And now Tim Needles gave me his famous pink sunglasses, so now I look really cool.
And he's the guy.
Yeah.
And then the second part is automation, which means that you're changing, it's kind of an automatization, you're changing the way that you're doing things, and your AI does those things automatically for you. You don't need to put prompts, or you don't need to. You need to program it and stuff, but it's not productivity anymore. But it's changing what you are doing, and it's changing the way you teach, or it's changing the way that.
A great example for that is, for example, a supply chain of cars. Productivity would be a human using a new tool to make cars faster.
Right.
And automation would be a robot who knows what to do in every moment. In that way, the car goes through supply chain, and a robot does whatever the robot needs to do. And the human can be focusing on other stuff. So going from productivity to automation.
I love that. Okay, so next, you touched a bit upon the benefits of AI in education. So talking about those two things, I think it can segue a little bit into what are the benefits?
There are many. Benefits that we can do right now, or that we think that...
should we go into... Maybe let's start with right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now,
we'll go into the future later. Save it.
Productivity is what we say. Right now, you can get a lot of data from students. With AI, you can be way more efficient creating PowerPoints, creating slides. You can be more efficient answering emails. Right now, you can create your rubrics if you want. That no one likes to create those rubrics, but thanks to AI, generative AI, you can create rubrics super fast. You can create lesson plans. I think that right now, AI can help teachers to save time and to put that time into what really matters, which is
being with the students.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I was reading the other day a report that said that, I think it's 62, Alberto?
52, which is more than half of the time.
52% of the time that teachers are working, it's not in direct instruction or direct...
I have that in my book.
It's very sad that half or even more than half of the time it's not with the students.
It's paperwork. It's dealing with other things.
Meetings and...
We always say that it's all that stuff. So we became teachers for children. We
Right.
became teachers to help the children.
Yeah.
And all those, more than half of our time, we are doing things that we didn't choose to do, right?
Right.
Meaning like we didn't join the profession to do those things. We joined the profession to make an impact on the students and to be with them, to support them, to help them being the best version of themselves.
And it's gonna help with teacher burnout as well. Like,
Yes.
I
It
would
is.
say that 95% of the teachers who quit is because of that 52%.
It's the things that they never thought that they
Yeah,
ever were going to have
exactly.
to do
like,
as a teacher.
Being a teacher is much more than teaching a lesson, and it's much more than supporting students. Have a lot of paperwork and a lot of things that you don't know when you join the profession.
Right.
And I think like AI is gonna solve a lot of problems, and it's gonna not solve but help with the teacher retention issue that we have.
This leads to a quote I pulled from your slide, but it's what I say every time I present. And I'll tell you my version of the quote, but you'll know what your version of the quote is. Because I'm not going to remember how to quote your quote. AI will not replace your job, but someone who uses it might, because they're going to be more efficient than you and they're going to be less burnt out than you, right?
Literally. And it's in
Yeah.
every profession. Like, more qualified professionals, will take the job of other professionals who are not that much.
But if we go back to the analogy of the supply chain of cars, imagine that we have people that are still making cars with their own hands
That's wild.
versus people that are using robots to build those cars. The robots will go faster, it will be easier for the people that are using the robots. So same is going to happen in education.
And some people can argue like, okay, but students are not products. And I agree. But at the same time, like you can spend hours and hours trying to get all of the data from your students to create lesson plans. And then if I know how to use AI, I can get that in 10 seconds.
You work hard, but also work smart.
Yeah, they say work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
That goes into this human intelligence. In that same report, they did make a very valid point of, they call it humans in the loop. And they say that the final educational decision should be made by a human. There's no contextual judgment. They don't know if the kid fell on the playground or there's some problem happening at home. So having that human intelligence and having that empathy and having the human make the final decision is incredibly important. Is there anything else you want to add to this human intelligence thing before I take some of your stuff?
I think you put it in a very good way. Like it's key that's why we really think that AI will not replace teachers, because AI cannot think critically. Everything related to social and emotional learning skills can be social awareness, could be like
Even self-awareness.
even self-awareness, all of that stuff. Like AI will never have it. Like can fake it. It will get to a point where it will fake. That
Really well.
that does all of that, actually doesn't. So like humans need to be there. To make decisions and to use all of the data collected by AI. To make this decision.
We always say that whatever the product of whatever you get from the AI, it needs to be a starting point, not the final product.
Yes.
So you get whatever the AI gives you, and you need to use your brain as human, as teacher, just to make it better, or to just adapt whatever you get from the AI to your background, to your context, to your students, to your reality.
I like to make the reference of, remember back in the day when Wikipedia came out? And everyone was like, you can't go to Wikipedia, it's not reliable. And now we kind of look at it as like, oh, it's a great place to start.
Yeah, exactly.
And with AI, I think it's the same thing. It's a great place to start, but like you said, it's not your final end.
Can
It's not
never be.
the final product, the final idea.
It's when, for example, teachers make rubrics, using it. Like you're not gonna get that rubric and like give it to your students, but it's a great starting point. To tweak stuff, to change it. So it's the same case.
Okay, and now you brought up this question. If an apology is written by AI, is it an apology?
What do you think?
I mean, what I think is sometimes people have a lot of emotions. I actually use it a lot when I run some of my maybe emotional emails through AI to remove some of the emotions. And then I think it sounds a lot more,
Professional.
yes. Anything that might have an emotion that you don't want to carry through. There's sometimes when I want to remove the emotion. There's sometimes when it's important to have emotion in there. But there's also times when you're so emotional and you don't know how to express your own emotions.
So it's an apology?
I think I would use it. But like I would make sure that I took my own thoughts that I wrote down. I saw what it gave me, and then I combined the two to make it the best version of that. But I would keep my emotions in it, but maybe write it a little bit more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think there's a great answer.
Yeah.
Actually, we've got a lot of people approaching us like, hey, like, what's the answer? You know, because in my table, like, or my partner, or whatever, you know, like, we were talking and we had different opinions. I don't think there's a great answer, but I can give you my opinion.
I think it can go both ways. Okay. First, if you use generative AI just for the wording, I mean, you really mean it, but you need help with the wording. That actually it's an apology. But did you use it because you just don't care?
Oh no!
It's not apology. So I think it can go both ways. Like, if
I
you
agree.
care
Actually, I agree
about the apology, but you really need to word it in the right way.
Right.
That's to me. That's a yes.
But we come back to the
But if you just don't care and say, okay, write me an apology because I don't even mean it.
No, that's different. Then
Like that's
a no.
totally
inauthentic.
no. That's a totally no.
That's inauthentic.
But we come back to what we say, like, it's the human behind it, right? I think what Alberto said, it's perfect, because if it is a yes or a no, depends on how the human who wrote the prompt feels. That's what he said. If that person feels that, okay, I feel very bad, I need to apologize, that is a yes. If doesn't care, you know, and say, you know, I don't care, you know, like, I just want to write apology, you know, just to get it out of the way, that is a no. But everything comes back to humans behind the AI.
Yeah. Okay, so here are some questions that you brought up. So what do you think we will lose? Because you said with AI, we're going to lose
Trade-off.
some things. It's a trade-off. So what do you think we will lose? And what do you think we cannot lose?
We can't lose empathy. We can't lose everything related to social awareness, to personal relationships. We can't lose that.
Self-awareness as well.
Self-awareness, anything related to social emotional skills, whatever in the casual framework, any of those we can't. Relationship skills,
because you actually
any of
need
those.
to give that, because the AI cannot doesn't have feelings, even if it fakes the feeling, like it doesn't feel, you know? So anything related to that is what humans are gonna need to give to the AI to make the learning authentic.
And what we are gonna lose, I don't know if we are gonna lose it, but I would be scared. It's everything related to the creativity process. Could be like creative thinking, everything related to that. Because even right now we have everything related to DALL-E or Adobe Firefly, Midjourney, all of those, you know, that you can generate pictures and stuff. Like, it's taking away your creativity if you think about it.
And we talked about that on the keynote as well. Like,
Albert,
it is okay if we use that, but we can never use it all the time and rely on those tools all the time, because we're going to lose our creativity, our creative thinking process.
Okay, I'm going to challenge you a bit.
Go ahead.
So the one feedback I got the most of my presentation last night was my graphics. I had a message in my head, I had a vision, I can see it. But how do I get other people to see what's in my head? I'm not an artist. I can't draw or paint. I can try to look for images that are already out there, but like, one of my graphics was so...
I totally get it, but you already had the creativity, and you went through the creative thinking process before.
You did it.
To have an idea of what you wanted the final product to be, right?
So you did that, but my point is that, like, because let's say that you want to create a presentation about AI, you go to ChatGPT and say, hey, give me 5 points that I can talk about in a presentation. You take that, okay, create these pictures. You have done nothing to, in your creative, but you've done everything in your creative process. You know, you've gone through every stage. You just need help to take those thoughts from your mind and put it in a slide, right? But you've done everything else. But my point was okay, you
can't use it to create the whole thing.
Yeah, like a lot of people are. You could, but you're not, like, working.
So I think you might have said this, or I don't know if it's what I wrote down. When and where should we use it? So when do you think it's acceptable, and when do you think it's not acceptable?
Oof, that's a great question.
It's more like ethics and morals that we are taking here right now, more than productivity, to me.
Yeah.
It's a whole conversation about ethics and morals.
I would say
when you think that it is right to use it or not, but I wouldn't use it to create the whole creative thinking process. If you are taking away that, I wouldn't use it, because you are going to rely to the tool so much that you're going to be losing all that over time.
For me, I encourage people to use it, honestly, like in maybe in every situation possible, as long as, like what Alberto said, we said that trade-off doesn't happen. It could be creative thinking, could be other thing, but you need to be very careful with those skills.
We're talking about skills here. What skills, there are two questions here. What skills do we need to teach students, and what skills do we need to teach teachers? You can pick whichever one you want first, but we're going to answer both.
I can talk about AI, right? So to us, we've been asked many times the last couple of years to write curriculum on AI to teach students and teachers, and we always say the same, like, we don't like to focus on tools when we talk about this. We like to focus about fundamentals, things that are not going to change over time, because we focus on the tools, so we focus on just tools of things we can do with AI. It's going to completely change in weeks. So skills that they need to learn on AI is more like fundamentals. Everything that is related to ethics, morals, bias, all those things that are not going to change over time, that we know what's right or wrong, if it is biased or not, or different things that we can do wrong with AI, copyright stuff, and all those things. To me, those are so needed more than the tools, for example.
And like everything related to computational thinking, it's super important for what Alberto said. That
you need to forget that AI is part of CS, deep learning, and machine learning, and that's very important.
Yeah, it's what Alberto said. Like that is not gonna change. It's the basic, the fundamentals of AI, of the computer science, and machine learning. So I think like we should focus on that for students, because it's the same with like coding. Why do we learn coding? To know what's going on behind that screen, right? To know what's going on in our website and everything else. So with AI, I truly think that should be the same. We should teach them the fundamentals of AI for the students to know what's going on behind that screen, what's going on when they write a script. So we need to come back to computational thinking, to all of the machine learning skills, like the basics that we learn with coding, we learn with computer science.
Okay, so now that AI can code for us, how much coding do you think a student should learn anymore?
The fundamentals as well.
Just the fundamentals.
Fundamentals, and then you keep going from that. But like, at least to me, every student should know the fundamentals of coding.
Like, is block-based coding okay? You think they could stop there?
No, a little more.
What do you think?
But like, to me,
Python, like, what are you guys thinking?
Python, Java, I think the basics, like
basic. Like, we used to study biology to learn how the world work, right? Like, we study biology to know how the plants, the animals around us work, the cells in our body. Now, like, it's not just biology, like, we are surrounded by technology that we really need to know how it works. So also, coding to us is the new biology. Like, to fully understand the world around us, we need to know at least how computers work and learn a bit about coding.
And that's I think that's a very good point, because it's what you say like, do they need to learn how to code? Well, I think yes, but it's more not just to be able to code, because now we have like help with all of that code, but it is more for like how everything works around us.
Okay, so before we get into the teachers, I really want to stop at the students right now, because this is something I think is so important, and you guys brought this up. I feel like we are so in alignment with all of our thoughts. This digital divide is a real problem right now.
It is
huge.
So can you talk to us about that?
So I think there's like a problem in, like, I would say that two different areas that we mentioned it on our keynote. The first one is the digital gap. Okay, like students or like people who have access to internet and now to AI versus people who don't have access. That's like if you think about it, like now that the world is more connected, like you can even apply to a job, like in Europe, and then a person in Africa can apply to the same job. Like your advantage is so huge, because you can use AI, you can use technology, you have access to internet, and then the other person haven't had that access or haven't had that opportunity. So I think the digital gap is gonna get bigger and bigger with the the more complex the technology is, the bigger the digital gap will be. Because like with internet was big, but right now with AI it's gonna get even bigger because AI can do even more than what we used to do.
And with the digital gap, I think it was going to be your second point, Mario.
Probably.
We talk about skill gap, right? Digital gap.
I wasn't gonna mention that, but you can go ahead.
Yeah,
and then I will talk about my second
gap,
point.
It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but also the skill gap is getting bigger because right now in the world that we live in 2023, we cannot succeed if we don't have skill sets based on coding, skill sets based on digitalization. So when we have this digital gap that is huge, also we are creating this skill gap with people that don't know how to use internet or know how to use artificial intelligence. So it's not just the digital gap that we are growing like crazy, it's also the skill gap that is going to affect the future of the students and the future of the workforce of a specific country, specific region, which is huge.
You showed this map where it was like Africa versus the US, and that was very compelling to see that.
Yes.
And I think before we even touch on that, like there are schools that are still banning this. And my problem with that is like you could ban it in school if they have a cell phone or a personal computer. It's not banned when they go home.
Yes.
And so if our job is to prepare students for their future, and like first of all, I always say to teachers, would you use it in your job? Like I hope you would, right? If you say yes, like how are we not preparing students to use it? And then the students that have the devices at home have access and they will use it whether you let them or not. And the students that don't have access, they don't have access. Now we're increasing this gap.
It is. I have two thoughts about that. Like, okay, so if a school district does that because they don't want to do it at all, that's a mistake. If they ban it temporarily until they figure out how to teach it, I understand that. Okay, it was like a tsunami of information, like so much. Okay, let's ban it for a month, month and a half. Now they should. Like, it was back, like a year ago maybe. Like you ban it for a couple months until you figure out how to approach that, how to teach that. I understand that, but ban it like forever, like I'm not gonna use it. It doesn't matter if you ban it or not. That student is gonna go home and it's gonna use it.
But also think about how you are impacting the future of that student. For example, let's say there are students in Colorado that they're using AI and they know how AI works and they know how to use it for to be effective in their workplace. And you have a student in Utah, for example,
on a farm
that they don't know anything about AI because you ban it. You are impacting negatively the future of those students because this is a competition. If I'm a company and I want to hire someone and I have a student from Colorado that knows how to use AI, but I have a student in Utah that hasn't been able to learn about AI, I'm going to hire the one in Colorado.
Right.
So also when we talk about competition for jobs, learning about AI is crucial for the future. So you decided to ban, you are impacting negatively the future of those students.
For sure. Okay, so what about the teachers?
First skill is like not to be afraid of AI.
You work with teachers a lot.
Oh yeah, all the time.
So what is your message?
My message is AI is gonna make your life easier.
Okay.
Going back to productivity. So teachers are very burnt out in general. They are tired of professional development. The last 2-3 years have been insane.
So they don't even want to hear you when you come in to do professional
No, they don't. They don't want to hear us. They don't want to hear anyone. They are tired. They've had so much professional development since 2020. So you need to tell them and you need to show to them
that this is not something else. This is not something else they need to do, right?
Yeah, and that this thing that you're going to teach them, you're going to show to them, is going to make their life easier. They don't want one more thing to do. They want something that makes their life easier.
And this is it.
And this is it. That's how we approach it. It's like, okay, this is not a new program that you're going to need to do in your class, that you're going to need to make time for it. No, this is something that is going to allow you to, be more productive and, spend less hours in your work, like having the same quality that you do.
I think when we approach teacher, we tell them, okay, we've been in your shoes, we've been teachers, and we know all you've been asked to do. But this is not it. This is the opposite. It's not gonna take time away from you or your family or your free time. It's the opposite. It's gonna give you that freedom to go and use your time however you want.
And then once they buy that, okay, teach me how to do it.
Right.
You
And then-
teach them, they
what do you
see
teach them?
it.
What skills? What do they need to know?
Prompting.
And how do they learn prompting?
So we have many activities, but I think prompting for students and teachers is step one to learn
100%.
how AI works.
What is your best prompting advice?
To
Specific.
be super specific. I mean, like, this is like coding. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be extremely specific when you code something. You should tell, your program, your platform, like everything you need to do. Like,
I know you've seen the example of a robot making a sandwich. Have you seen that example? That, like, for people that don't know how to code at all, they're asked to give instructions to.
We do that in real life, but I make the kids be silly.
yes.
And then usually we model as
You
a
need
teacher.
to be very, very specific
Yes.
for the robot to make the sandwich.
Yeah.
So it's the same with the prompts. You really need to be very, very, very specific for what you want and how you want it. So I think that's
We
step
always say,
number
like,
one.
give context, okay? Like, give personality to ChatGPT. Give, like, okay, you now are like a marketing expert, and this is my context. So, like, give AI, generative AI in this case, as much information as possible. Like your context, like what do you want the AI to do? Like, what's your goal with that? Like, as much information as possible.
As specific as you can be.
Yeah, we always say your results or what the AI gives you back is only as good as your prompt. If you do like a crappy prompt, you're gonna get a crappy
The
response.
product will reflect on your prompt.
And that's why I always say when people say, is it cheating to copy it from ChatGPT? It depends how you used it, because if you loaded it the right way, if you prompted it the right way, maybe not, because it's really your own thoughts, your own ideas.
Yeah.
It depends how you use it. So that's why it's always, if you're a teacher using this with your students, I think it's important for them to include a link so you can supervise and see how it was used. Because I think the how is very different than if you used it or not. It's not a yes or no. It's a how.
It depends. Yeah. How, and it also the evaluation. How do you want to evaluate that?
The process, not the product.
Exactly.
Yeah, process.
Right?
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the future now. So you showed a picture of a very traditional classroom in your keynote. What do you think the future classroom looks like visually?
Nothing like that.
Nothing like. I would say that how I would like it to look, and I think we can make it possible and can look. It's like not individual rows anymore. I would say that not teacher desk as well. I would say that I would like to enter into a classroom and say like a working environment.
Open spaces.
Open spaces that groups of students or individual students are working on a project. And a project can be about everything. It doesn't need to be about math only. Like, can be interdisciplinary, can be like a different thing. So I would like to enter a classroom and don't even see even desks if it's possible. Like just projects around the classroom. Cross-curricular projects. It doesn't need to be like maybe second grade. If you're in second grade, like.
So not even a front of the classroom. There's no front.
No, not even the classroom setting as we know it right now.
Are there any screens on the walls, and how many?
Yeah, like any screens, whatever is necessary to support students in this student-centered approach.
And you think there's a physical classroom, right?
I really think so.
I really think so.
I think it's important, honestly, because of what we said before. I think like the human connection is important. I know that a lot of online learning is happening and will happen in the future, and I agree that it's important because.
And it doesn't need to be just classroom face-to-face. It could be virtual or not, but I hope it goes face-to-face. But also we are aware that a lot of virtual classroom or virtual learning will happen in the future, but always collaborating, solving a problem, and working together on a project.
Okay, so you gave this year, you had on a timeline 2024. So you said a lot's going to happen by 2024. But I'm going to ask you 2024 and 2034. Can you tell me what you think 2024 looks like and 2034 looks
I think 2024 is going to look a little like end of 2024. I hope we get to automation already, like with some tools that we get with AI that teachers can use tools to to make some processes in the classroom automatic. That I think that would be great with the data of students. And 2034, I don't know, because if you ask
2
me
years ago,
can you imagine if you asked me like a year and a half ago, like how it's gonna look like I would have never guessed this.
No, me either.
Not even close. So like from now that we already have that technology, it's gonna,
because it's not progressive anymore, it's exponential.
Yeah, that's the thing. 2034.
Can't even.
I couldn't even tell you 2025.
Okay, so is there anything about this future that maybe keeps you up at night or worries you?
Yes. Ethics. It worries me.
Ethics.
It's very dangerous.
Ethics.
I think bias is very important as well.
Oh, me too. I have a whole episode coming up with Ken Shelton about AI bias and discrimination. I'm really excited about
and
this.
also we were in the conference CS EdCon last week. There was a huge AI conference in Vegas actually, and they were talking about the possibility of companies paying different generative AI to give those companies the top results. For example, you go to a city and say, ask ChatGPT or other generative AI software, give me top 5 restaurants I can go tonight. What about those top 5 restaurants or company are paying OpenAI?
So it's gonna be
the top of the list.
Right.
It is like the Google or Bing before you search on that, and you get the true results, organic results. Now all you get is
the ads, right? Like the 5 first results are like someone who is paying to be there.
Yeah, there's Google Ads, that's a whole thing.
That's gonna happen in generative AI very, very soon. People are gonna start paying to be on top of the list and getting that ads.
Right.
So that's one that's gonna happen very, very soon. Another one is ethics about the multicultural point of view.
Multicultural, yeah, because right now all the data that we are feeding to this generative AI are from people who have
Western
access to
countries.
people who have access to internet and people who has access to AI. But what about people, like we said, in Africa or even like rural areas of the US? Like you're not getting
Utah,
yeah, you're not getting their point of view. You're training AI, generative AI in this case, with data from kind of the same people-ish. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Instead of just multicultural or different points of view. So that scares me as well, because we're gonna reach to a point where, we're not gonna be able to have a non-biased opinion, or something like that. And there are different processes and different things that companies do to avoid this, but it's not 100%, accurate.
Yeah, there is research that came out. We were talking about that a couple of days ago, and that shows how we're going to reach to a point that we're going to be using the same data to train the AI, and it's going to get to a point that's going to get so confused that the results are not going to be accurate.
We're going to run out of data, at some point.
So we're going to be using the same data over and over and over
but
to train the models.
What about recursive self-improvement where the AI is teaching the AI?
That happens, but this report showed that data it's gonna get worse and worse because you're recycling it so it's not gonna have the same quality. So if you use the same data over and over, AI training an AI, it's gonna get a point where that recycling is gonna make the product worse.
And that's so you can see that clearly in this report that show how when you generate a picture with Midjourney or Firefly, one of those ones, if you use the same data over and over and over, the picture is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. It's very interesting to see that report, and it shows that if we're using the same data or other AIs to train AI, it's going to be horrible, the final result.
I previously interviewed Microsoft Education's Chief Innovation Officer, MJ, and he left a prompt for you.
What is the most practical and immediately accessible task that can be handed off to AI?
We talked about this before, and I'm still thinking the right answer.
I think I can come up with one. We talked about the digital gap before, right? The skill gap. So I think that there's a way where AI can help with the skill gap. And it is that right now, 2 students, one that is a lower socioeconomic family, one is a higher socioeconomic family. The student who has I would say rich family, we can say rich family, is going to have access to tutors to help academically, right? With writing essays and stuff like that. The other student who grew up in a kind of in a poor family will not have access to these tutors. But now with AI, you can teach AI or you can talk to the AI to be your own tutor. So that person who didn't have access to tutor or extra help, academically, now have access, to all of these tutors or like extra help academically.
All of those resources.
All of those
are very
resources,
expensive.
exactly. So I think
or even like learning how to code and those things that used to be very expensive. I think AI can close that gap by using it right in the right way and helping these families that maybe couldn't afford tutors or other kind of help. They could have access to this technology that will help them.
So I think like if we use it right, like I can close the skill gap, can give the same opportunities to different students.
Thank you so much for coming to NYSCATE, coming to the United States, to Rochester, New York, near Syracuse, New York, but not quite
Not
where you
yet,
ended up. Where can we find you?
We are on social media. eTwinz is eTwinz. And then I don't know in what conference will be next. ST for sure, and then
definitely ST.
Definitely 100%. And we don't know about the future. We are still thinking because we really need a break. These couple of months have been exhausting. Too much. We've been traveling.
So you're going to take a vacation?
No, we're going to take a break from traveling
internationally. We'll be traveling in Spain and maybe
we'll
around.
be in Spain, no Europe or South America the next couple of months. And that's something that we've learned recently, that we need to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
And it is okay to say no. It is not bad. And so we're taking December and January off traveling just to focus on family, friends, and our own mental health, which is awesome.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you at USD and anything else that you want to leave us with.
I don't think so. I think we talked about pretty much
I know.
everything.
It was a very good conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Generative Age, powered by NYSCATE. For a deeper dive, check out my new book titled How'd You Guess? The Generative Age, now available on Amazon.
Our journey may pause here, but the conversation doesn't need to end.
Stay connected and informed by following me on social media at Alana Winnick and subscribing to my newsletter, all conveniently accessible on my website, alanawinnick.com.
Don't just listen, be a part of it. With your free NYSCATE membership, you can join these live discussions, enroll in our free Generative Age NYSCATE community, where you can share resources, ask questions, and collaborate with like-minded colleagues. If you enjoyed this podcast, consider leaving a review and telling a colleague or a friend.
We've got so much more in store, so be sure to join us next time for another exciting conversation. Until then, keep learning and keep growing in the generative age.